What's going on, everybody?
Hey,
Welcome
everybody.
to episode 5. We're already on episode
We
5.
are already on episode 5. Yes.
I love
it's
it.
it seems to have gone fairly fast, even though we've actually had a couple of breaks.
Yes. Yes.
It's still seems like we've gone through it pretty quickly.
Yeah, it has. I like these conversations a lot. And before you get ready with the introduction of the topic for the day, I just want to provide a little disclaimer of sorts. Since we in Dallas have been hit with ice for the last week, my son is home still. Nobody to watch him currently. So we're actually cutting this to half an hour today, and that's my bad, and I apologize. So
It's not your. I don't think that's really your fault, Jen. I don't think you. I don't think you can. You can hold your hands up and say that you hold any blame for that.
okay, fair enough.
It's simply the reality of the situation. So I don't think anybody's going to hold that against you. I'm certainly not. So I think we should be fine. Well,
Okay, cool.
thank you so much for joining us, everybody. So today, what we're focusing around is what we're calling the corruption of truth. And I think that's just something that a lot of people can probably recognize today, is that one of the biggest problems we face as a society is how much the truth is being corrupted on a continual basis. If you're still one of these people that, and I don't know why, but if you're still someone who's watching any of the mainstream news, you will see the obvious corruption of truth every single day. And the way that things are twisted in order to present a different version of the truth that somebody wants you to see, or to completely twist the truth into what is effectively a lie. And when there are people who are trained in deception, because there is such thing as deception training, one of the first things they will tell you is that the most effective lies are those that are based on the truth. And the media has embodied that with gusto, and utilized the truth to tell lies on a continual basis. And I think the reason for it, as far as I see it, is that there has been a fundamental break, and we touched on this last time. There's been a fundamental break in what the dichotomy in political and social management used to be. Because the dichotomy used to be, we want to achieve the same aims, we've just got different intentions of how we get there. Now, there are fundamental disagreements about the fabric of reality itself. And as a result, makes it very difficult to actually have a genuine, honest discourse with somebody who has a fundamentally different understanding of reality to yourself. And so today we're asking the question, how do you recognize when the truth is being corrupted?
Yeah, and I think, yes, it's obviously very prevalent in the media, which is like one of the biggest problems that we see in today's age, which we'll get into, I'm sure, because there's quite a lot to discuss there, current event wise. But I think in general, truth gets corrupted so easily. Like we do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to do that because I think truth becomes distorted for any of us when, well, like we've talked about in the past, if there's not God at your center, okay, so truth can easily become corrupted if you don't have a set of standards and morals to aim towards, right?
Yeah.
But it also becomes distorted when it threatens your identity, when it threatens the things that you want, when it threatens your comfort, when it threatens your ego or your sense of control. And I think that's why we can justify bending the truth to fit the narrative that we want to, because like you said, deception good deception is based on the truth. So it's not like our truths are just flat out lie. It's not like our corrupted truth is just a flat out lie. It's almost like we kind of like pick apart the truth and then turn it into our own.
Yeah.
And
selectively pick the bits we like.
yeah. And I think that's what, the media is so good at, because first of all, they're incentivized to create, the most sensationalized, emotional story based on the truth. Yeah. And I think whoever like gets at it first is the one that the majority of people are going to believe.
Yes. And I think that it's been exacerbated by the internet, hasn't it, as well? And that now you can get a lie out, and the lie can spread around the world before the truth has even got a chance to get into the light.
Yeah.
And people take that in as the first thing they heard on it is the right thing that they heard.
And it's so easy. Like, you can't tell me that, you might be scrolling on your Instagram feed one day or your LinkedIn feed, and you might see something that looks really, really truthful. Okay. Let's just say it. Let's talk about Alex Preddy. Okay.
Yeah.
His death is, of course, another super unfortunate, like, nobody deserves that. But the problem is the story that they first portray about it paints him in a different light than what it.
Yeah, paints him as the absolute 100% victim, completely blameless in the situation. And he clearly wasn't. Not to say he deserved to get shot, but he clearly wasn't completely innocent in the situation at all. The fact that he was even there agitating federal agents in the process of what they're trying to do is enough to say maybe you shouldn't have been doing that. Yeah,
I think it's a huge problem. I mean, but it's just so easy. Like, if we didn't know any better, like if I didn't know any better, I would easily believe the story of this very sad ICU nurse who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and was trying to help somebody. But really, we find footage that he was like a violent attacker, and just a week prior had broken his ribs because he was in another altercation. He's like kicking taillights out of federal agents' cars, like violently. Like, that's a hard kick. I feel like that would be really hard to do.
Yeah.
The law is the law, right? Authority is authority. And if you're following God, one of the things that you're supposed to do is not escalate situations. You're supposed to be a human of de-escalation.
Yeah. And
anybody who escalates like that, they're just asking for trouble.
They are. And then as to compound onto the narrative, the problem is that the people who would be referred to as on his side, if you like, are desperate for a martyr to hold up as their shining light that they can show, oh, look, the other side are evil. And so they immediately corrupt what actually happened to try to make it into that. And did you see what they did with this picture on was it CBS or something like that? Did you see that?
So I heard about something about a picture, but I didn't get a chance to actually see what the story was.
Yeah, so they have his nursing picture that they have. Obviously, they will have the pictures for their IDs and so on. And they edited it to make him look better looking, more healthy. They changed the color of his skin so he looked more tanned, and they fixed his teeth. And, they did a whole load of stuff to make him look like he was more handsome and less. And there was a load of stuff that they did to it. There's a side-by-side go around the internet at the moment of what they put up versus what his picture actually looks like. And it was all designed to try to show you this image they wanted you to have of this nice smiling man.
Yeah, they probably changed his eyes to look more kind too.
They did a load of things to try to make it look better.
Yeah,
and it was very painfully obvious they'd done.
That's
the corruption of truth.
Crazy. That's so crazy. But if you take like the surface level stuff away, like, okay, so he did this, he put himself, like, we could argue about
in that
this all day,
situation.
and
Yeah,
there would be
yeah.
two sides arguing about it. But here's like the real issue is that he really truly believed that he was righteous, right? And so because somewhere along the way, he's been fed a source of untruth. And so like if we could go back in his life specifically and see where that corruption happened and what he heard that molded his way of thinking into something so extreme and
so divorced from reality.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, divorced from reality in so many ways, including a surface level ways that like I believe some of these illegal immigrants have even come on and made little reels that I've seen. They're like, thanks for doing this, but you're not helping, and you're not like, you getting killed for us doesn't mean anything to us, because what are you going to do to change our situation? Nothing.
Right.
Like it's kind of like that whole virtue signaling type stuff, I think.
Oh yeah, and there's a load of that going around. It was interesting actually. We were talking briefly before we went live here about the Joe Rogan interview and some of the stuff that's on his podcast, and they were talking about it on there, and that they were specifically talking about the mental health rates split by political allegiance. And it is pretty stark that there is a dramatically larger proportion of people on the left who are mentally ill than those on the right.
Well, it makes a lot of sense.
It does.
I mean, and it's sad to say that because like I truly love everybody. I don't care what you believe. I don't care if you are like a Satan worshiper. I still love you as a person. And I want the best for you. And I want you to see the light, and I want you to see the truth. But like, it makes sense because there's, in general, on the left, I'm not saying everybody. In general, there's a large majority who don't have God or a set standard at the top of their life.
Absolutely.
And if there's no definition or standard or morality that we all strive towards as a group, meaning like a group on the left,
or
then
a group on the right,
you have confusion, you have chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, what are you supposed to believe? You're just gonna. It's all emotion based, and
it comes down to individuality. That's what happens. Is rather than you having a guiding principle to which you are striving, you are instead only worrying about your own emotional needs and requirements and feelings at any given moment.
Yeah.
And you have no moral rails on which to guide yourself.
Yeah.
Everything feels right in the moment.
Yeah. And it's not to say like we shouldn't be convicted over certain things or have like want to stand up for our values, because that is something we should do. But I think when you have a set of, your guiding principle, and that's God at the top, like, sure, we can feel anger and we can feel like something is not right with politics and we want to stand up for that. But do we escalate it to a point of violence? No. Like, there's a big difference in polite discourse and trying to make changes in a realistic, humanistic way, and that is based on fact and truth instead of feeling, and whatever truth we want to say is the truth that's not the truth.
I think that's right, and I think that's why there's definitely an overt attack on Christianity in general, especially amongst the media and amongst other groups, is because Christianity is grounded in the pursuit of objective truth. That's what it is grounded in, whereas pretty much every other kind of faith, and I'm not going to speak in absolute terms, but as a general, most others are grounded in the following of a particular dogma.
Yes, and that's when things become dangerous, because if you don't have If truth is just subjective in a general population, then I think you get into groups and truth becomes like a tribal thing
Mhm.
instead of and 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 they truly believe these things, like
Mm.
whatever it may be,
Yeah.
but it becomes tribal and not actually objective.
Exactly. I mean, you can, yeah, and education does have a part to play in that. I mean, you can go back not that long in time, and everybody would tell you that the world was flat. We've briefly lost Jen. I'm sure she'll be back in a moment. This happened last time, actually. She had a brief moment of disconnection. I'm sure she'll be back with us shortly. It's what I have found is that the problem tends to be that you can go back not that far in time, and everybody would believe that the world was flat, and people would kill you for saying that it wasn't, and then that the world was that the Earth was the center of the universe, and people would kill you if you said that it wasn't, and so there's truth as objective truth, and then there's the warping of the truth, because plenty of atrocities have been committed in the name of the Christian God as well as they have in others. But I think that's because what happens is it is corrupted by people. The real word and the real truth is corrupted by the opinions and the emotions of a flawed person or people.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, I think when that because like I said, as humans, we want to make our own truth. All of us do it, Christians included. Like we want to make our own truth bend to the things that we desire or the things that we believe in. But there's
Yes.
danger in that. And I think just like in the case of discernment, like discernment over something that may be going on in your life, I think that can be a really confusing time. And you can see how maybe two sides of something, they both sound pretty good and they both sound kind of truthful. But if you go back, I think at the bottom, I think the bottom line is that if you go back to the word of Jesus, there you find your answer.
Yes. And I think this speaks really well to the point we were talking about before we came on from Romans, which we were talking about, which is it's Romans 3:10, which says, "None is righteous, not even one. No one understands. No one seeks for God. All have turned aside, and together they have become worthless. No one does good, not even one. Their throat is an open grave. They use their tongues to deceive. The venom of vipers is under their lips. Their mouth is full of curses and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood, and their paths are in ruin and misery. And the way of peace they have not known, because there is no fear of God in their eyes." I think what that's trying to say is that everybody, even when they think they're righteous and they think they're right, are never measuring up to the absolute ideal that God would want you to. Even if you're a incredibly pious, incredibly religious person, you're always going to fail because you're human. You're not going to quite get there because you are human, and it is intrinsic within us that we can't get there. But I feel that really does connect to that particular passage. When I read it, really resonated me about what's happening today.
Yeah, I think in general that verse really applies to the world and everybody, because there's only ever been one perfect person, and we will never live up to even half of what he lived as. But I think that when you do have ego or pride, or if you're focused on worldly titles and possessions, you're never going to actually see or feel the truth. You have to be able to die to yourself and surrender. And I think acknowledge and accept the Holy Spirit inside of you, and then begin this like process of sanctification, which the process of that itself like gets you closer and closer to being righteous, even though you'll never be righteous, right? Does that make sense?
Or at least not entirely.
Yeah.
You can be righteous to a degree. You can
Right.
be godly to a degree, and you can follow the word to a degree. But every human fails.
Yes.
Because it's not possible to walk that path in the absolute, because nobody is built for that.
Yeah.
Everybody fails, everybody errs. But I think there's the beauty of what makes that human. I think is the purpose of it. And I've often heard people who are very atheistic, and I think I've spoken about the fact that I was very atheistic for a long time. Is the argument often given is, okay, so if God wants you to follow him, why does he let bad things happen, or why does he give you the free will? And the answer, as far as I see it, is because you have to go to him by choice.
Yeah.
If you were just programmed to always follow where he was, then you're not a free independent person. You're a drone. You don't have the ability to make your own choices if you are always having to revert back to program.
Yeah.
Which is where I think a lot of these people who are very divorced from the truth, I think there's a big reason why there's such a big mental health problem in that particular side of the aisle, particularly, is because on some level they know they are living wrong.
Yes.
They know they are thinking wrong. They know they have been corrupted by mistruths or literal evil. Somewhere in them they're aware of that, and that creates that sense of not belonging, that sense of a break within their personality, within their psyche. Something there doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And they know it.
I agree. And we're all created in the image of God, which means we all have in us somewhere his character, right? And so I can think of the times in my life where I've been like the most confused, the most stressed, the most depressed, the most numb. And they've all been the times where I've been doing the wrong thing that I didn't actually believe in.
Mm.
And I think this applies to anybody, whether you're like, politics aside. I think when you are not aligned to the morality and the standards and the character that God gives us, you don't feel good. It creates chaos in your brain. Like biologically, it creates chaos. And you live that out, and you start, that's why we're told to have self-control. Self-control is really, really important.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to have.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of restraint, but and de-escalation, to my point earlier. But there's a reason that we're supposed to have it. Like, yeah. I don't care what you believe in. If you don't have self-control, you're going to be a chaotic mess.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it comes down to what you would potentially call impulse control. Self-control and impulse control are slightly different in that, you'll get these impulses to go and do something in the moment. And self-control, I see being as more a general state. And so there's certain things that you're better at handling if you've got continual self-control. But that self-control is you, and that general state of that is a lot easier to maintain when you have that underlying guiding set of principles and morals and knowing who you are and what you care about and what matters truly to yourself.
Yes, and I think that's another huge problem that maybe I didn't say before. I think if you lack a solid identity, you're in danger.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like if you are not super solid on your identity, that's when all these different truths come into play. Young people, that's why like they introduce like these Marxist ideas to young people, right?
Yeah.
Because they're super impressionable.
Yeah,
and
they're easy. They're easier to corrupt. It's why it's why do they start trying to get children to decide their own gender when they're 4 years old, but yet you can't get a tattoo, drink alcohol, have sex. You can't do any of these things until you're 18 or older, depending on where you live. But yet you can decide, according to them, to completely and utterly change the rest of your life.
Right. You can mutilate. You can choose to mutilate yourself.
Mutilate your entire self, sterilize yourself. You can choose all of that because of compassion that hasn't been impressed upon you by an adult, because there is no child that has made that decision without having an adult talk them into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It should be. I mean, don't even get me started on that subject, because I might say something that will make somebody mad.
Oh no, we can make people mad. I don't care about it. Anyway, I mean, I genuinely believe that any doctor who's done it should be in prison.
Yes, 100% they should be in a prison. You don't even have a developed brain until 25. And for some men, it's like 28 or 29. Like you can't make a decision.
For me,
like
it was about 38, 39, but yeah. It was,
yeah. Yeah. I would like, if I could go back and do like a master's, I have two choices. Like that would be one of them. Like, when does the brain actually fully, like, because so many people don't find out their identity or their purposes till they're literally 40 years old. I'd be really curious to see like what changes happen in the 30s and 40s that kind of make that a solid, like across the board kind of realization.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I think that's entirely right. I think but that I think relates really, really directly to what we're talking about. Is that, it's one of the reasons why the president of the United States is not allowed to be younger than 35.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes. Oh my gosh. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons behind it. I personally think that should account for all public office. Nobody should be allowed to hold a public office unless they're at least 35. And I personally think you should have had to have worked in the private sector in some form or another for at least 10 years or so before that, so that you actually have any kind of appreciation for real life.
Yeah. I agree.
Why that's only in place for the president and not for everybody else, I've got no idea. But that is 100% the way that it should be done.
Yeah, I actually never thought about that from that kind of point of view. That's so true. So true. You would not be an effective president or leader of, can you even be an effective leader when you're younger? I mean, sure, there are some exceptions.
There's been some really interesting historical examples of some people who have been particularly good at being leaders very young. I mean, I think Alexander the Great died when he was 33. And I think he started building his empire when he was about 20, I think. So you can be exceptionally good at something, and he was exceptionally good at conquering and commanding armies and things like that. But his empire didn't last beyond him.
Yeah.
Because what he wasn't old enough or wise enough or had the ability to do was build in the infrastructure underneath him that would keep it going. So there are reasons why you generally need to be older to bring these to allow yourself to have that development of in your mind to be able to discern truth better.
Yeah. The brain is a wild thing. I was thinking about Jesus. Obviously, he was younger than 35.
He was, yeah.
And he was human and also God, but I wonder what his brain was like.
Probably very different from anyone else's, and I obviously, I think we would get into the weeds quite a lot if we tried to even unpack that. To be honest, I think we'd be in a very interesting. I think it'd be very difficult to even start on that particular front. But I think that from the point of view of the average person, the the discernment of truth becomes more difficult the more time you spend only looking at facts through one angle. Unless that angle is the objective truth of Christianity.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I mean, I think that's pretty solid. Our brains can adapt to, if we're not super convicted, our brains can adapt to anything that we tell it to.
Yeah.
Like going back to your flat world example, like if you look at all the facts that these people believe, like it makes a lot of sense. You could see it, just like the conspiracy theories. These things can make a lot of sense if you really like.
Well, some of those conspiracy theories are definitely true.
Yeah.
And the flat Earth one does always fascinate me, because I don't know if you've ever gone down the flat Earth rabbit hole and looked into all the stuff behind it.
Some of it is really believable.
And the fact that Antarctica is actually an ice wall and there's stuff outside of it, and when you go into all of that, it's really fascinating. It's quite amazing. And there's all kinds of things that you can hear about, and you're like, there's something to that. There's something in that. Having personally been up at a very high altitude airplane and seen the curvature of the Earth myself, I'm pretty convinced it's round. But I can understand how it's easy to get into that space, and also that is exacerbated when you see the rest of truth around you being corrupted. Because what happens is you immediately start going, well, nothing's true. If the government's lying to me, and the media are lying to me, and TV's lying to me, and these people are lying to me, then everyone must be lying to me. So everything that was once considered a fact becomes malleable. Right.
As you can see how some probably, I'm sure, going back to where we started, Alex Purdy has been a really, really good man, but he got lost and he listened to other truths that didn't actually exist and weren't reality. And his emotions got the best of him.
Yeah.
Which happens to all of us if we're not careful.
It really can. It really can.
So
I'm conscious of your time here, Jen. I mean, are we good to keep going, or do you want to wrap this up?
No, we should wrap it up.
Okay.
I can hear Donnie playing very loudly and screaming, and I just know he's gonna bust
you're on a timer. That's fine. That's okay. Don't worry. No problem. Well, thank you so much for this, Jen. It's always good to have these conversations, and we'll try to get a full length episode in again next week. Hopefully, with all the schools are back open by then, and we're good for it.
Maybe we'll continue this kind of same avenue, because I feel like there's a lot more to talk about here, and I feel like this is all really controversial but very interesting and truth seeking. So I like it.
Really relevant, I feel.
Really relevant.
I think it is culturally relevant at the moment. So that's great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us as ever, and we it's always a pleasure. We'll be on same time again next week.
Yep. God bless everyone. Have a really good today's Thursday. Have a really good weekend, and we'll see you next week.